Hello, fellow human being. I present to you my 1.5 button build, where you go fast, you do damage, you explode big, and sometimes, well, sometimes you die hard. But it can be set up to do all map mods, so you can just blast. That's my Shattershard bomber, and this is all you need to know for Path of Exile Mirage update. Like and subscribe. Alright, so let's talk about the nerfs, the changes, and then I'll move on to the mini build guide, or as I call it, a build recap. So overall, we received roughly a 20% nerf with no real power gain. I didn't see anything that was like cool or interesting, something that spices things up for the build. So it's just an L. It's not an insane nerf. The build is not dead, but it does touch us in places that we don't like to be touched. Sure, so shield charge boom boom lives on. Now what changed? The grafts are gone, which means that we lose some chance to freeze and some damage increase on single target. We lost some AoE and a guard skill. Now, this is unfortunate, but I mean, most builds that were using this lost this. However, I am struggling with sockets like a lot. So I don't have space for a guard skill. Not the end of the world, but it is a defensive nerf, right? It's conditional, so it doesn't matter. Technically, it does, but it doesn't. Anyway. This is basically one radius nerf. Then we lost some chance to freeze. That means that we kind of want some chance to freeze more than before. Because here you see I have 25% chance. So on single target, when you're attacking quickly on one target, it's fine. We have big hits, so the freezes are pretty significant and they last long. For mapping, this flask suffix, chance to freeze, shock, and ignite, is very good. Because it is basically consistency for the not the shocks. The shocks are in single target, which is good. It's like 10% damage increase, which we don't account for here. But yeah, you want chance to freeze. Maybe instead of some Herald buff effect tattoos early on, you get some chance to freeze tattoos. Now for the Golem buff effect nerfs. TLDR, it sucks, but it's fine. So in the end game, the more primordial bonds you have, the more this nerf affects you. But we're still getting the damage per golem. It's still intact, completely untouched, which means that we're still getting 180% increased damage per golem, or rather per primordial bond notable. So that's fine. But the loss of the effect does suck a little bit. So we lose the accuracy, which was my main concern. I was just barely getting to 100% hit chance with my setup, and now we can't get even close. However, we have to drop life tap from the shield charge and replace it with accuracy support, which is fine because in the end game we can imbue life tap back, right? We don't know how expensive this is, how rare they are, but it is possible, right? We just need a level 1 life tap and we are back to all mod viable, back to being able to sustain and everything, because mana loss is also not helpful here. Like with all the soul leader stacks, yeah, without life tap it's a bit rough. We also lost a little bit of attack speed from the lightning golem, yeah. But the solution is, because we get more accuracy than before from this support gem, we don't need them on the gloves, which means that we can roll attack speed up to 16% on the gloves. So it's a minuscule loss in attack speed, which is fine. And then everything else, the flame golem, everything, right? It's just an L. We don't have a solution for those, but it's fine. Like the radius loss, a little bit of damage, but we have so much percent damage scaling that this is irrelevant. The radius sucks, obviously, because this was a build where I was trying to push as much radius as possible. So losing like 4 or 5 radius overall, it does suck. It's still like I started playing this build with a fraction of what I have in the POB, and it was totally fine. Then the rest is defense, basically. The region loss is kind of irrelevant because I was doing tier 17 risk syrup farming, and a lot of the time I had either fully like 90 something% less recovery rate, which means that I basically have nothing, or I had no region maps, so it's fine. And then the less defense, well, less energy shield sucks, less armor sucks, less so, but still sucks. As you can see, defense is not OP, so every little bit helps. But not the end of the day, or not the end of the world. At the end of the day, the build is alive, the build is still kicking, and still zooming. Okay, let's move on to the build recap. So first shield charge hit counts as blocking, which means that your shield explodes. That's the combination of our Monastery Bell, and the Shattershard. Don't mind the book. It's just simulation for damage and stuff, so I can have different loadouts without configuring configurations for all the setups. That's the main combo of how this build works, why it works. And then more attack speed is more explosions per second. So Soul Eater is a mega juicer for damage, also speed. And then shield explosion scales with percent quality on it. Don't forget to add quality on it, because I know some people were asking, why am I doing no damage? Quality is good. Now the thing is, you can get more than 20 quality. It's very rare, but it can happen. You cannot chance it because it's a heist unique. But every 1% above 20 quality is, I believe, roughly 5% more damage. So that's pretty good, right? Like if you can get it, it's a lot more damage. This is conditional, fully ramped, but still, damage is spicy, especially with flask and stuff like bada bing, bada boom. You know what I mean? And then it could be more. So we need Arcane Surge Source because the shield explosion costs nothing, but it's the best support, the Arcane Surge support. What you can do early on, what I do early on, you just link Arcane Surge. Where is it? It's like Frostblink and Elemental Weakness. You just link level 1 Arcane Surge and you have it basically without thinking, because, you know, you use those skills. You know, you just randomly click Frostblink and you have it. Right. The next thing is you go for Synth Implicit later, because you want to drop that support for 1 sockets. And the other thing is that you want to be able to run no region maps, so you need life tap on those skills. And then, you know, you won't get Arcane Surge because you're not spending mana. So we stack golems and their buff effect. I think that is not surprising because we talked about golems. It's just a generic scaling package. Everyone knows about them. Everyone loves them. Well, I suppose except for one of my friends. Shout out to Alti. And then Dark Monarch. It doubles the golem amount. We stack some Primordial Bonds with the Megalomaniacs. In my endgame POB, obviously this is the final version. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. These are mediums. So 4, 5, 6, 7. It's quite a bit of damage because every single one gives 180% increased damage per node, plus the golem buff effect, which got nerfed. So it's just like, it's not cosmetic, but it's, you know, a side hustle kind of deal on those primordial bonds now. It scales everything, explosion, damage, like it's good. And then we stack Herald buff effect for global physical damage scaling. We go for the Holy Trinity, as I call it, the Herald Ring, Lost Unity, which gives just more damage per Herald, and then Herald of Ash and Herald of Purity, scale the buff effect with tattoos. And how we can do that is by getting an Elegant Hubris for ignore attributes, and then those tattoos. You need to have this Supreme Ostentation, which means that you need Caspiro. In the name of Caspiro. Now, for the full ailment immunity, what I'm doing is also Elegant Hubris, plus Boot Implicit or a Jewel, and then plus Storm Shroud. And then we have that. So I'm getting this. It can be here, it can be here. I'm talking about the Avoid Elemental Ailments on the blue influence, not instead of action speed, because there's a Avoid Shock for the red, Searing Exarch implicit, but we lose the movement speed or action speed, so that's a big no-no. You want the other one. Mr. Editor Shaxu here, I forgot to mention this, but speaking about the Avoid Ailments, and there's an alternative version for Avoid Ailments that I did. Like, for some reason, if there is no Avoid Shock Timeless Jewels that you can get, one option that I went for, which is not necessarily the most efficient thing, but what it gave me was it gave me a jewel socket back, right? Because we don't need Storm Shroud Jewel, but it is quite a bit more expensive and restricting. But yeah, Veiled Prefix, Avoid Ailments, and then Boots with a perfect implicit. Getting that, you know, could be a bit of a endeavor. And then Avoid Elemental Ailments Essence. So that's how I did it for a while. And while we're looking at the tree, I will mention one more thing. Tattoos, right? Like, sure, Herald buff effect is really good, but like getting anything is better than having nothing. And then there are 2 versions. One is when you're putting Timeless Jewel here, and then you're getting your Frenzies and Avoid Shock, and then you're going low life, and you're not wasting points there. Or you go with the Inspired Learning route, which could be pretty nice, right? These are just 2 dead points. This is good, this is good. But then It's a bit of a struggle because we need more points to grab those. You could go low life and then drop these points, or you can take those points instead of low life and then also run Molten Shell instead of going low life. That's a more defensive option. So there's that. Okay, continue with the video. Okay, then Explode. We are using Explode Flask early on, plus Hair Lavash for the aesthetics. Obviously, that's a must. But because we have so much generic damage scaling, the fact that we lose physical damage scaling with the Heralds, Herald of Purity, Herald of Ash, we still do a very, very good amount of damage with Explode Flask. So that carries early on. That's like the priority number one to get. And then later on, you can go into Explode Body Armor with higher budget because you probably want to elevate and you want to... I mean, you can play without the elevation. Like, sure, you can, but like, you know, in the end game, you want to elevate and then slam it together with something like this, get some energy shield, and then in the very, very end game, you want to mirror. Well, hopefully it will exist. This league, it did exist. Next league, we don't know if someone will craft this, but this body armor was so nice, so good. Yeah, Omega Giga was I think that was my first mirror item that I mirrored, where I actually felt like it's worth, like, getting, I don't know, 10, 20, 30% more damage on a mirrored weapon. No. Getting, I don't know how much I got, but like getting more radius for Explode. Oh yes, sign me up. So, but yeah. And then the last thing is Hatred crits, Watcher's Eye, unlocks Elemental Overload. So there was some discussion about it, that it doesn't work, it doesn't show up in the tooltip, but I tested it. It works. I timed killing bosses with removing all the conditionals, like chance for exposure, chance for a nerf, or removed everything except for the crit and elemental overload. And without it, we're doing it slower than with it consistently by quite a bit. So, you know, yeah, we're getting 40% more damage, so it works. Tested. And as you can see here, if I go to Hatred, 95% more damage. With this setup, this gives me 95% more damage. So, yeah, that's the argument. Determination, it's debatable. You can drop Determination, save some reservation, but it's good because, well, first of all, some armor against small hits, it's very, very impactful. Very good because we cannot block at all since this removes the block. But the main thing is I have a Watcher's Eye that gives me reduced extra damage taken from critical strikes. And then you corrupt your shield with reduced damage taken from critical strikes. And then maybe you could sacrifice a few Herald buff tattoos. That's what I did, actually. I have these two. Yeah, these two with reduced damage taken from crit. And you basically can get crit immune. But even just the Watcher's Eye was already quite impactful. So that you can do, like, you know, 16.5s, tier 17s, or Nightmare maps now with the crit mod, because they get like hundreds of multi. So if you can reduce that, it's a very, very impactful one-shot prevention thing. Yes, thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. All of these clusters, the rare ones, you can just reforge life and craft them yourself until you get what you want. And then if you get something that's good but not for you, just sell that. It's pretty good. You can make quite a bit of profit by doing that while crafting for yourself. That's how I did everything. And then also you can craft some stuff, because you do need to get some reservation efficiency corrupted in the end game at least. I had my large clusters corrupted, and I hit this, and that gave me enough. 49 for some reason. In game it's fine. Oh, but in game I guess I have two of them. It's fine, like, because like the thing is, I was doing all map mods, right? Which means that a lot of the time I have no leech. Also, I was playing a lot of the time without leech, because where we get leech is this helmet, which is absolutely cracked in the end game. That's what you go for, but earlier is just cold leech, and then before that it's nothing, and it's fine. I played without leech. I played without ailment immunity for the longest time as well. Like, it's just fine. Like, it just blast, you know. So one thing to note before I end this is these numbers in the POB, they are a little bit inflated. Not inflated, but POB warrioring, right? So I'm using a Foulborn Headhunter. Now, we are assuming that we are max stacks, which we do get to quite quickly, but this is basically what I was using for bossing. And then this is not a bossing build to begin with, right? But I did Ubers with it, like, it's fine. The thing is, you put a normal Headhunter here, and you're chilling. And then the damage obviously doesn't look this crazy, because we go from 15 triggers to 9 triggers. So you can do the math, it's a lot less, but this scales with Headhunter buffs so well. And then sometimes you can still get Soul Eater, and then it just, like, it's insanely strong, insanely good then. Yep. In the very end game, that's what you get for Forbidden Flame and Flesh Jewels, and then you can do Elder Reflect maps. Until then, you either skip it, or I used to maybe, like, drop this and pick up that. But then you lose the AoE and damage, so I don't know if you want to do that. You can just skip them. Like, I don't know how good Risk Scarabs will be this league. Technically, they changed the mods that you can roll on high-tier maps, like the Nightmare and 16.5s. The, like, most annoying mods are gone, so Risk Scarab might be better. But, you know, like, not for every farm, not for every strat, because they're usually quite expensive. But yeah, I don't know, that's the TLDR of the build. Not really TLDR, but it is faster, more compact, hopefully informative. I can't speak, which is a sign that it's time to sign out. So 07, see you next league. This league Friday. By the way, I stream on Twitch if you don't know. Anyway, bye.